Harnessing the power of social media for the purposes of getting into a selective American college or university. Today, we're going to be talking about Facebook. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, which is collegemeister.com. In this series, we've talked about the pros and cons of different social media platforms when deciding to whether or not to put yourself out there in the virtual world. In the event a college admissions officer searches you up on Google or something like that, when trying to verify if this student that has applied to his or her college or university is simply too good to be true, and they want to just search you up as they go to lunch break. They think, maybe I just want to double check that this student is as cool or as awesome or as fresh as or innovative as I think or he or she is. And they type in your name into Google or some other search engine, and your social media page comes up. And then they click on it, and you want to make sure that this social media page helps you and not hurts you. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. Or if you already have one, it's worth deleting or hiding in any way, shape, or form possible before your application process begins. So today we want to talk about Facebook. Facebook is sort of interesting. It's like the granddaddy of social media sites insofar as it's like the one that's been the longest lasting. It was extremely popular, frankly, with a lot of the parents of the students now who are coming up in age and are applying to college, or maybe just before that time period, but definitely depending on when they had children. This was very popular with lots of the parents, and it still is, and is a place where a lot of parents post photos and socialize with their friends from near and far. And so as a result, I'll be honest, Facebook is not as popular with most 16, 17, 18-year-old kids today as other social media platforms are. And for the purposes of college admission, I think it's also sort of like a little archaic and stodgy in the sense that there's fewer cases in which I would say it would be valuable for you to have a Facebook page as something that you would be proud to share with college admissions officers, whether or not you're proactively sharing it or they just somehow find it. If you happen to have a Facebook page, you most likely do. It's probably, not very well built out. And maybe you're friends with your parents or some family members, some friends from camp or something. Many students don't even spend much active time on Facebook. So to go the extra step of like actually curating and like producing a professional Facebook page built around your personality, built around you, seems sort of a lot of work to do for the benefits for a 16, 17, 18-year-old in most cases. And because of that, I have recommended earlier in the series other social media platforms that I think are probably more likely to suit you better if you really want to consider going this route of harnessing the power of social media to your benefit throughout the college admissions process at selective American colleges and universities. However, there are particular cases where a Facebook page may make sense. In fewer cases, though, there are individual pages like you and your name. In more cases, I would say, like if you have a club at school, or if you're doing a fundraiser, or if you're affiliated with a nonprofit and you want to be sort of the social media manager, the Facebook manager of the page for that group, then you might be better suited creating sort of a Facebook page for that group that's somehow affiliated with your high school, or can get likes from your high school and benefit from sort of overflow interest in your high school, so they link to your Facebook page for your Habitat for Humanity group, or your Students Against Destructive Decisions group, or what have you group, or your fundraiser for this impoverished country or that impoverished, whatever it might be, or this particular cause that's very important to you. I would say that using Facebook for a page that doesn't have your name on it probably makes more sense, because it normalizes your effort or it sort of lends some degree of credibility to your effort with individuals who are in their high 30s or older. That's where Facebook is sort of right now in terms of a lot of people still using it. Now, again, I do know that younger people do still, of course, use Facebook, but there are some more immediate and exciting social media options for the younger crowd. And again, I talked about those earlier in this series. But again, I would say, if you have a Black student union at your school, or a Jewish student union, or a Muslim student union at your school, and you feel like you're just getting your sea legs in this group, you want to start promoting an event or a speaker that's coming, and you want to sort of do so in a way that will get the attention of not just other students at your school, but maybe parents or administrators at your school, it's not necessarily a bad idea to start a Facebook page, and maybe even in concert with the faculty mentor or advisor for that particular club. Get their approval and like do it as a team effort, so there's like an adult involved. That's always a wise, I think, idea as well, to have an adult involved if it's a club or activity page. So that, I think, would make probably the most sense as sort of a professional way in which to show your social media abilities, your abilities to sort of be that curator or social media manager. And maybe you're going to go into a communication field, and that would be definitely a net positive to show that you have experience developing and building and getting off the ground a social media page for a serious group, a group that a number of people depend on or look to as a source of information or value within a particular community. If you want to go the route of actually just having an individual Facebook page, that's a far harder road to walk, if that's a dramatic enough statement. I would say maybe it's a high wire act, I would even say, in the sense like, what's the point? I think that Facebook sort of lends itself to less professional environment than LinkedIn, for sure. And because you're now at the risk of sharing too many words in any given Facebook post, there's more risk involved that you share words that don't comport with the way in which you wrote on your college application. So there's risk there. There's no word limit on a Facebook post, right? Or at least usually, and it's a pretty big word limit if there is one. So there's a lot of potential risk there. You can link to things that could be potentially get you in trouble. If you're doing your own page, you're sort of the star. So like, what are you trying to do there that you couldn't theoretically do better or in a more focused manner, maybe on TikTok, on LinkedIn, or on Instagram? These are questions you really have to ask yourself. Similar to what I said in the TikTok video, you have to really go in, if you're going to do a personally branded Facebook page, like your personal Facebook page or your brand or your persona first Facebook page, you got to really have a very clear understanding of what that brand or persona is before you start producing content aligned with it. And in order to maintain content aligned with it, you have to have a clear mission statement going in. There are obviously huge influencers who are extremely rich on Facebook and other social media platforms who've made their money on social media, curating content that sort of builds sort of a lifestyle brand around their personality, or their Facebook personality at least. But many of these individuals, I would say, are full-time individuals doing this. You are a student first and foremost. You probably are involved in clubs and extracurricular activities and sports and church and other religious or academic activities or enrichment activities out of school. So you're a busy person. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Facebook, because it's sort of like it can keep getting bigger or bigger, and there's really no limits like there are in other there are limits with TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn, which we talked about earlier in the series. I feel like there's a huge variable factor there and a risk factor there that you gotta really have a compelling reason to have a public Facebook page that would be findable accidentally by an admissions officer or findable proactively because you somehow share it on your application. And I'm not saying you can't ultimately become a social media influencer or a Facebook star or whatever, but I would say that, devote a whole summer to that full time, and you could still completely not do well at that. It takes a lot of energy, and Facebook has different algorithms and hugely long-standing users that sort of are all in their sort of niches in their own worlds, and many of them are sort of very familiar with the people they're friends with or with their following. So it takes time to build up sort of that familiarity that would warrant really starting something like that, at least for the purposes of college admission. Like if you have a long-term goal that by 25 years old you want to have 1 million followers on Facebook, then that's a whole other story. That's like not the reason I'm doing this video. I'm doing this video because I'm trying to give you advice on how to have a social media presence that will be a net positive to your overall college application. And I just don't see many compelling ways in which you can do that with Facebook, other than, like I said, starting some sort of fundraiser initiative club, or taking that club initiative or fundraiser and creating some sort of page around it on Facebook. So that's why I would say that's a huge positive potential. I don't think there are many other positives with Facebook because too much sort of personal information could potentially be shared. Now, I know you could potentially hide your friends or, hide some other connections or stuff. But like, you may not want them to know who your aunt is, or, you may not be that proud of your younger or older brother. And you may not want to get them confused with him or her, because, or they could look too much like you. And then it just goes down like a rabbit hole. Like, that is all stuff that could potentially show up on Facebook too. So I just don't see Facebook being that exciting of an option, and I would probably try to avoid it. If you have a Facebook page, I'm not saying delete it, but I am saying definitely heighten the security and privacy protections on it so that it's harder to find throughout the duration of your college admissions process, so that you can keep it amongst you, your family, and your friends if you actually do find yourself on Facebook. There's nothing wrong with Facebook. Again, I don't think it's nearly as popular these days as TikTok and Instagram amongst teenagers, but there are reasons where you may want to have a Facebook. Like, maybe it's the way you stay in touch with your grandparents, or you are friends with some people who are only on Facebook. That's what maybe their parents allow, and so it's important for you to keep that. But for you to build it out as like a brand, or you to build it out as something to augment your college application, I just think is there's a lot of risk involved, and it's harder to really stay focused on Facebook. And with everything else that Facebook can do and I just don't think it's the ideal place to do that. Again, it's, I think, ideal for the third party organization building a site for that, and using that to, like, maybe have an event that people can see who else is coming, on Facebook, and, sign up for that or whatever on Facebook, or comment socially on Facebook to get other people excited about a particular event you're having at school or in the community at the end of the year, or homecoming you're planning or something. And maybe 2024 homecoming is has its own page or something. A lot of schools also have, instead of not only yearbooks now, they also have sort of like countdowns to graduation, and sometimes students are responsible for building those out, or like the class of 2025 page, where you're going to promote where kids got into college, and maybe you're the responsible party for that, and you can put that on your resume for college applications, that you were the person who was a social media manager for that page, where kids, when they get into college, you're the one who posts the picture. Sometimes the schools do that in-house. Other times it's sort of done not illegitimately, but sort of unofficially through just the kids in the class. And so that's an activity in and of itself. If you're doing it as an activity, you get a twofer. You get to put it on your extracurricular resume, and you could potentially show what you accomplished in a link included within an extracurricular resume entry. By the way, if you do want to put together an extraordinary extracurricular resume, I strongly recommend that you take my short course, How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume, which is linked below this video. It will teach you everything you need to know about how to put together an awesome extracurricular resume for the express purpose of your college application. It's not a resume for an internship application or a job application when you're 25. It is a resume specifically formatted for the purposes of augmenting or building upon or supporting your chances of getting into colleges as a part of your college application. So definitely click that video below, and that link, below this video to take that quick course. It just costs a few dollars, and it's definitely worth your time and money, because there's no other real course on the market that I think is as direct related to specifically telling you how to put together the right format for you, regardless of whether or not you're an actor, an artist, or an athlete. So I think you get the idea that Facebook is just not my friend that much. There used to be something called Friendster back in the day. That doesn't exist anymore. I think it collapsed and then it was taken over. There was also MySpace. Facebook is very much sort of in that realm of old school social media sites that were really about socializing online, and connecting with people and talking to people and getting to know people online. You hopefully are doing a really strong job of that on your college application. And anything extra you could share on Facebook would probably be better shared on LinkedIn, TikTok, or Instagram, because there's fewer risks, I think, involved, arguably. So I would say avoid Facebook. I would say avoid Facebook for the purposes of your social media presence for your college applications. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel. If you want to work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process, you can go to my website, which is collegemeister.com. Until next time, I'm Craig Meister. Stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, stay stress-free throughout the entire college application process.